expressed here are not supported by and do not reflect those of the Evening Rush Network. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Man, I can't calm down, it's only up from here. I can't shake this hell off, yeah, I know it's real. When I'm seeing tone, people tell me what's the deal. Man, I'm feeling like David when I do my dance. I'm fading in the spirit, my vision kinda blurry. I'm feeling kinda woozy, I'm fading in the spirit, my vision kinda blurry. I'm feeling kinda woozy, yeah. Come on, Jesus Christ, tell me what's the deal. I'm feeling kinda dizzy, and ain't pop the pill. I'm high on cloud nine, and I'm feeling fine.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I love that song. I swear I can be like it always lifts my mood up. Always lifts my mood up. So welcome, ladies. Thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Think and Grow with Vette Green. Today we have Ms. Tara Evans and Ms. Kizzy Dogan joining us today, and we are going to dive into the education system here in America. And we are also going to be talking about, what can we do to help change some of what is going on in this world, because our kids are important. So first, I just want to ask you, ladies, how was your weekend? Did you do anything special? I know the Bills was on last night. Go Bills. Tara, did you do anything?
I'm preparing for my next weekend, so not as much.
I cannot wait.
I mean, looking forward to being with family, having some fun, what life is really about. Absolutely. Stopping to smell the roses. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely. Just pick me up if I fall. That's all I'm saying.
We're going to pick each other up.
That's right, cuz. That's right. And Kizzy, how was your weekend? Did you do anything?
My weekend was pretty good. It was quiet, but it was good. I drove myself crazy the week leading up to the weekend because I was preparing for a presentation. And when I say literally when Saturday hit, I was like, I'm tired. Let me just relax a little bit. And so I ended up having a good weekend though. I did see some friends that came into town that was just here quickly to, see their parents. And so, but I had a good weekend. So.
Yeah. Doesn't it seem like as women that we just go. And it's like, we don't even think about it because we know we have to do these things. It's just like, go. And you don't realize how tired you are until you actually sit down.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree.
And sometimes I don't even allow myself to even relax. It's so crazy because I'm like, meditation, maybe 2 seconds, because my wheels are always spinning and I'm always like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, let me do this. So I'm always doing 1,000 things at one time, which I know they say that's counterproductive, but that's who I am. So, yes.
Yeah. It's the calming of the mind is what I'm focusing on, just being present and just, slowing my mind down because it can race. It'll go. Like I can think of 50,000 things in 5 minutes. I promise you I can. It's like, dang, how can your mind? Sometimes it's like, girl, if my mind and my weight matched, let my metabolism burn like my mind goes. Just race.
I used to sleep with a pad and a pen by my bed because my mind would still be racing, and then I would write those thoughts down. I'm slowly but surely out of that, and now I'm listening to calming sounds or even jazz music to fall asleep. And I feel bad for my husband because now I snore, which I hadn't done in a long time. But that's the sign that I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
That means you're resting well.
Yes.
So that's good. Good for you.
Mm-hmm. Bob Baldwin is a good jazz musician. I had him on maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago, but he has this one song. I think it's called, I got to look it up real quick. It's one of my faves that he wrote. It's so funky, and it's something like, it's called Funk in the Pocket, Funk in D-E Pocket. You got to listen to it. It makes you want to move and groove. It's not your regular type of jazz, but yeah, he has a lot of work out there. His name is Bob Baldwin. really, really nice, calming work out there. Something you can actually sit down, take a bath, get yourself a glass of wine, and just chillax. Yeah, he has that type of bodies of work. So, so thank you, ladies, for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. This is definitely a topic that I thought was great to discuss. And if you are joining us, you can definitely tap in to the conversation. We are talking about the education system here in America and how it affects our children. And lastly, what we're going to talk about is what can we do now? What are the options out there that are out there for our children? Kizzy has written a really great book that I wish I had when I was a teenage girl coming up, because you face so many challenges and your body goes through so many things as a teenage girl. I wish I had something like that. So we're going to talk about that towards the end, and she can tell you where she can find that information. But beginning, Tara, let's if you just want to introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Kizzy. She can introduce herself, and then we'll start the conversation.
Okay. Well, my name is Tara Evans. I am an Associate Director for International Student and Scholar Services at the University of Albany in Albany, New York. Been in higher ed now for a long time. Know a lot, seen a lot, done a lot. But I think there's a lot of things that we can unpack here tonight. So I'm looking forward to doing that. You know me, of course, as Connie, and you feel free to call me that. And
thank you. I'm like, man, it's Tara.
Yes, Tara that's the government name. But if I had my way, I would be Connie Evans. So feel free to call me Connie, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Connie. And Kizzy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Kizzy Cottrell Dogan, just like you, Connie. I never liked Kizzy growing up, but now I've embraced it because I've had it for 45 years. But that's why I add the Cottrell, which is my middle name. So I make sure people say Kizzy Cottrell because I would rather have been just Cottrell growing up. But I am an entrepreneur as well as an author, and I also mentor teen girls. So that's who I am. Born and raised in Washington, D.C. I'm a D.C. girl.
Well, thank you, ladies. I really, again, I appreciate you both for joining me tonight. This is, it's a hot topic, and I hope that whatever gems are dropped, that some parents get it. It's a struggle out there trying to raise kids, and when you have, when you're facing things like discrimination that you aren't even aware of, it makes it even more challenging. And then to top that off, some of our children don't have the support that they truly need, because as parents, we may be really, really busy. Not that that's an excuse, but it's just reality. We're trying to put a roof over many of our kids' head, put food on the table. It's tough. It's tough. I remember, raising 6 kids, coming home, just beat and barely able to check their homework and stuff, and doing it on my own. Pretty much, I was the one that was doing it, but it's tough. And then you get to kids in higher education, maneuvering the college life. And Connie, I want you to tap in on that. So what do you think is the greatest challenge that our children face once they leave high school?
And most of this might be personal experience, so I apologize. But
no, go ahead.
What I see now is coming into higher education, like after going through the process myself, I see that a lot of kids are not prepared, especially the Black and brown ones. There are differences as far as help, but that's a universal problem. All the kids don't ask for help. For example, today on my way out, this girl is coughing her brains out and asked me, did I know if we had a nurse on campus? And I'm like, we have health services around the corner. So it's a lot of times they don't ask for help. They don't take advantage of resources. But for our Black and brown, it's knowing where to get the resources. It's a lot of times we don't have the money. I can remember in my freshman year not having enough money to stay on campus. It was embarrassing, but I did pack up my stuff and go back home, because it didn't say that I couldn't go to school. It said I couldn't live there because I didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we don't know where the money's coming from. We don't understand financial aid. Like in the first part when we talked about it in our roundtable, A lot of students don't even know how to fill out a financial aid form. And like you
The
said, if you had a
FAFSA.
mom, like God bless my mother, I love her dearly, but my mother didn't know any of that stuff. So I
Mine
had to
either.
figure it out. Yeah. So you have to
Mhm.
figure out how to get your FAFSA. Then what happens when you don't have enough money? So I think right now, what I'm seeing in higher education, like even though I work predominantly with international students, I still tap into EOP program to know what's going on with our Black and Brown kids. And it's
Mhm.
been the resources. I love programs like EOP, but everybody doesn't qualify.
Right.
EOP takes you from A to Z, where if your parents make more money than the limit for EOP, then you're stuck. You're out there trying to figure it out. And
Mm.
that's a big problem. We don't ask for help.
Isn't with EOP, it's a first come first serve basis, also, isn't it?
In most cases, yeah. And I noticed like here in Albany, it's more of the students coming from New York City versus any,
Mm.
and they have been the most successful here though. Since I've been here the 9 years, they have graduated every EOP student that they've brought in because they've been
Wow.
walked from. They come in 2 weeks before school starts, so they're getting the lay of the land. They're finding out where the library is, how to go to tutoring, and they're more successful
Really? Why do you think that is?
because EOP is federally funded, and if you want to keep the money, you got to show the results. You know,
Mm.
retention is a big key in order for schools to get federal funds. I mean, they don't give you a lot of it, but what they give helps out the universities tremendously. So if you want to keep programs like that, you have to show the results.
Mm-hmm. Kizzy, what's your experience with the education system, and not necessarily higher education, just your experience raising your children, and the challenges that you may have faced as far as their education?
Okay, so my experience with my older son and having three boys, I have experienced not only, we have these biases and, and I had my oldest son was in public school from kindergarten through 12th grade. My
Mm-hmm.
younger kids started in public school and they're now in Catholic school. And so the reason why we moved to Catholic, we just didn't have a good experience in the public schools. I mean, phone calls every single day, uh,
Yeah.
disruption or that type of thing. And I just feel like, unfortunately, boys, and especially ones that are vocal, tend to have it hard in the public schools.
Mm-hmm.
If they're like my oldest son, for lack of a better word, he was like quiet and more so in compliance. And so he didn't
Mm-hmm.
cause any problems. And he just, went through class and did what he had to do or what they thought he was supposed to do. With my youngest sons, they talk a lot, they're popular, they're leaders, so they're the disruptors and all of that. And so we struggle with the public school system. And even now, with them in Catholic school, even though it's a much better environment, it's more conducive to their learning, they
Mm-hmm.
still struggle with, having to conform because they're like, Mom, they don't want me to be me. And I'm just trying to be who I am and be myself. And you said, so it's that thing. I feel like we try to box the children in and make them
Mm-hmm.
one way versus allowing them to express themselves freely. I mean, of course, there has to
Mm-hmm.
be a respectable way, and one that's not disruptive to the learning. But our kids aren't allowed to do that. And I've
Yeah.
seen it just from my own experience of going to predominantly white schools growing up. And I know the difference of how they are more independent and, have free to express themselves and walk out the classroom if they need to walk out the classroom, and passion versus
Mm-hmm.
aggressive, and, all of these things. And it's unfortunate that even some of our own teachers struggle with allowing the kids to be themselves.
I agree. You touched on something there, allowing them to be themselves. Connie, do you think that that is part of the struggle with our Black and Brown kids once they leave high school and enter into college? That there's a struggle because they're forced to be independent, right?
Mhm.
And many of them may be struggling with their identities as well. They don't necessarily know who they are, or they've been told for so long that you can't be who you are. Do you think that that presents a problem with them as well once they enter college?
I sure do. And another thing to touch on what Kizzy was saying as far as being in a box, when you
Mhm.
look at, and I hate to say this, but when you look at certain individuals and they're coming to school and they're the same age as you and they're riding in a Range Rover and a Lexus and they get out and they have the latest fads on it, you're trying to make it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Come to
Yes.
school and you figure like before you saw all that, you had all the confidence in the world. But then when you get to this school
Mm.
and you see all of this, then you are put back into a box because you're like, well, maybe I don't fit in. And I
Mhm.
see that a lot. But what I'm starting to appreciate is that the African American students, at least where I am now, they're starting to come into their own. You know what I
Mm.
mean? They're finding their own niche in this school because at first when you look at it, the rich kids weren't the white kids. They're the international students. The
Mhm.
international students are coming and they're taking the spot of the predominantly white student of being the rich student. And then here comes our black and brown. But now that we have these different associations and that we have trying to diversify faculty so that black and brown kids see someone that looks like them. That's my biggest problem that I had growing up in Lackawanna. I seen a teacher's aide
Yeah.
and a teacher that taught us how to type. And thank God she taught me how to type because that's
Me
where I
too.
really came into my own. I figured out what I could do with myself. But them having faculty advisors that are African American. We have this great guy. I mean, they give him his roses every semester, and I appreciate it because he works hard to make sure that black and brown kids are seen at that university. And
Mm.
I think it's really important because if you don't have that, then yeah, you're going to be in a box and feel like you're learning, you're not being able to express yourself.
I
So
like
I
that.
agree.
I like that. Kizzy, what does the demographic looks like at your son's school as far as the faculty?
So when they were in public school, the demographic as far as the faculty, it was kind of a 50-50 split. And that's
Mm-hmm.
another issue that I think is, and I don't know if it's just me being biased or what, but we have a lot of teachers coming from middle America, coming into the urban communities, teaching
Mm-hmm.
urban kids. They cannot relate to the kids. And so then
Mm-hmm.
you have young males like myself or young, I mean, my students or young females who are kind of alpha. And so they have a struggle of, you know, respect and you can't, you know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
a thing because they're not relating. And what they see is they don't see them for just being a 13-year-old.
They see him as fast or mouthy or
And they don't even they sometimes don't forget that they are just children. They're viewing them as adults. And that's the thing
mm-hmm.
that most black kids don't really realize is that they're not viewed as kids, unfortunately. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's another problem. So you don't give them the grace. You don't give them, like, okay, well, let me remember when I was 13. You automatically look at them and think, okay, they're young adults, and they're not. So
They
but it's
are.
50s, but right now, for the majority of where they go now to their Catholic school, it's predominantly African American or brown staff. Their principal and a few of the priests and nuns are Caucasian, but for the most part, they have predominantly black staff. So they
I,
do that.
I want to go back to it, and either of you can answer. I want to touch on why do you feel it's important to have faculty that represent or at least can understand the experiences that many of our Black and Brown children go through coming into school? Many of them may be facing homelessness. They may, lack of food, just the basic necessities. A lot of them may be facing. What do you think? What do you think? Why is it important for the faculty to at least look similar to these children that are entering school?
Izzy, you want to go first?
Sure, no problem. I think it has to do with it's important because if you can't relate, then you don't have the empathy, and that's what they need. You
That's
have to be
big.
able to empathize with them so you can connect with them emotionally and have a human connection. So then it can say, you know what, I see you, I hear you, I understand. And perhaps the way you're going about this isn't correct, but let me show you how to do this. If
Mhm.
you're acting out, if you're coming and having a bad day because you're hungry, who can learn if they're hungry? So I mean,
Right.
I know when
Basic
I'm hungry,
necessity.
I'm
Yeah.
not nowhere near focused, and I'm an adult. So I think that's what it is that you need to be able to have that connection so you can have empathy for these children. And that's the important thing, to make the connection.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And to piggyback on what Kizzy Cottrell said,
Right, I love that name.
I do too. I think I like it.
Is it
But
trail?
I think that I agree too that you have to have empathy. And for me, because it's even like that in corporate America, when you're the only African American and they sit there and they talk about racism, and I'm like, you don't know nothing about no racism. You ain't never
Right,
been pulled over while driving while black. You can't
right.
tell me. You know
Right.
what I mean? And then I think if you're an African American and or a black or brown child, and you see black or brown student, and the faculty member is a black and brown person, they'll come up to you and be like, "Can you help me?" Versus they're hesitant to a white counterpart because they're probably, oh, she ain't gonna understand. She's not gonna help me. I watched a student, and there was two of them. There was a young white lady, and she was standing next to a black girl, and the black girl was brand new. The young white lady, she said she had been to school, that had been her second semester, so that would be her almost her full year. This young lady, the black lady, was only there. This is her first semester. She saw me walking to the bathroom. She was like, "Miss, do you work here?" And I said, "Yes, I do." She said, "Me and my friend have been standing here, and we don't know where such and such building now. The way the building is designed, when you walk in, you're on the garden level. So they don't realize that there's a first floor and a second floor.
Oh,
And they're
wow.
looking and they're standing around." And I'm like, at first I was going to ask them if they needed help. And I'm like, no, this is a teachable moment. And so when I told her, I
Yeah.
said, look at these numbers. You got to go upstairs. You got to go up. I said, so now I tell you, you tell the next person. When I came back from the bathroom, she had the whole class headed up the stairs. I said, and that's how you get help and you help somebody else. But the young lady, the white lady, wasn't going to ask me for help. She was just
Mm,
standing there. I'm like, she's going to be late for her first class, or she might not even make her first class because she doesn't realize that she's on the garden level of this building.
yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the things.
Isn't it just, does it strike you as odd that even now in 2022 we still face many bias, and as Black women we aren't taken seriously?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's
I am. It is. And if I didn't, I work because I'm a hard worker. That's how I was raised by my aunt. But I faced so
Mm-hmm.
many things working in higher education that
Yes.
I thought I didn't face those things before. But it's like being passed over for a job because you're a woman and the color of your skin, and then you get a boss who's a white man that has no idea. And every time he speaks, he asks you what you think. And I've heard my aunt from heaven say to me, to say to him, what do you think? Because you
Ah,
don't get paid for
Miss
it.
Ada.
Yes.
that's
So
a
that's what I say now.
I
that's
like
a
that.
great response. I'm going to use that.
I know, right? I like that. I like
I
that.
no longer give it away for free. I'm like, you make at least 20 grand more than me. And I know I'm smarter than you, but you got the job, so you're going to have to do the job.
Oh
Right.
man, and
Awesome.
we need that. What about
Yeah.
you, Kizzy? Do you still find, do you find biases, just as a Black woman as well?
Yes, I do. And I've experienced it pretty much. I went from growing up in DC from an all Black community, all Black everybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably seen one or two white people from birth to 10, and then
Yeah.
we moved to Gaithersburg, which was a predominantly white. And so it was like two separate worlds. So from 10, 11, I've experienced it and I still experience it. It's just, and it's so crazy because sometimes I even experience it in our own community. And it's like, why are we like this with each other?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and it's just crazy because as a Black woman, like I always tell people, we're at the bottom of the totem pole, even though we bring all the magic, we bring all the excellence, we bring everything. We're, like you said, Connie, you're a hard worker because that's how we were raised. We get it done, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like we're only viewed as one way,
Yeah.
and that's unfortunate because we're multifaceted. We're not all the same. We do different things. We bring different things to the table, but we
But
don't.
what about that? What about that shirt? This is what it means, Kizzy Control, when they say they want our rhythm and blues, but they don't want our what? It's something that they talk about. And I'm like, that's exactly it. They want it.
They
But
Yes.
they hate us for having it. You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? And it's just,
Yes.
it's so weird that
Yeah.
that's what we go through. And I look at it, black people, black and brown people have a lot of buying power. You know, we spend a lot of money, and I
Yes.
start to be selective of where I spend my money. If
Me
you don't like
too.
my skin, then you don't like my money.
I
That's right.
will walk out.
That's
I
it.
will walk
Absolutely.
out.
Yes. I think I really got into that over the pandemic. Like, you know what? I'm going to be really selective of where I'm spending these dollars because
Mm-hmm.
I don't like
Mm-hmm.
the treatment over here. And I used to just excuse it like, oh, I'm just no more
Yeah.
excuse. No. If I want to take that treatment from the others, then I might as well give it to my people.
That's
Yeah.
Like
it.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to complain about, oh, that's why I don't do business with us. Because nope, we're going to keep going and we're going to get it right. We're going to train these people how to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, as parents, what do you think is something that a school could offer your child that if you were to compare apples and oranges between the schools, what is it that you would be looking for in the school to offer your child? And Connie, I know I'll call him Little Peanuts in school. Did he graduate yet? He just
Yes, he
graduated, right?
graduated in
How
May.
was that experience for you?
Um, his experience was a little difficult, to be honest, because he went to a school that it was the mix of black and brown versus white counterparts was not equal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was so sad because financial aid was a black lady, and I really had to give her the business to say, then she didn't even say my child's name right. She was like, well,
See.
I talked to Ronald, and I was like, well, who's Ronald? Because his name's Robert. And I said, we're working in a pandemic. We're both in higher ed. Work with me. I know what my child needs, and my child came to you twice, and you're not
Mm-hmm.
helping them. And so I
Mm-hmm.
had to pull the card to a point where I had to pull out and say, this is who I am, and this is where I've come from. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, just do your job. I'm doing my job. I mean, I'm meeting kids at Walmart to be able to assist them through this pandemic.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
your job. You signed up for it. So he didn't have all the struggles that I had because I had the resources and the knowledge of the FAFSA and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And even went to a point to where I was advising my son based on his degree audit to make sure my son graduated on time, because you had white faculty members who was like, oh, it's not my job to advise. I'm a teacher. Well, if they gave you that duty, then that's the duty you have.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a rough experience, but I thank God that I was knowledgeable enough to be able to help my son, and my husband was smart. Well, my husband was my backbone to make sure I didn't go too far over the line. It's like it's a
Oh,
way to handle it.
oh, that's
So
what's
we
up.
had to tag team it, and it's still difficult. I feel bad for black and brown kids that don't have someone to tell them. You know what I mean? Like we
Mm-hmm.
were
To
talking on the
advocate
first
for
part,
them.
to reach out. Yeah, to be able to reach out and help somebody. And that's the thing. And I always tell my son with his friends that are still in school, if you could help them with something, find them a resource or tell them about something, do that so that it can keep going. You can pass it along.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kizzy, I know your oldest is grown, but you have two 13-year-olds. What would you be looking for in a school? Because you do have two, African American sons, and there's going to be some bias in there. Even though they're 13, we know 5 years from now we're still going to be working through this mess. So
Yes.
so what would you be looking for in a school for your children?
I am looking for, first of all, an environment that's conducive to learning, not
Mm-hmm.
only learning, but helping them develop as human beings because they don't
Mm-hmm.
go to school just to learn math, science, and reading. I mean, they're there for a long period of time and they have to evolve as humans and to be good citizens. Yes, that's my job, but for the most part of the day, they're entrusted with other people. So I'm hoping that there's people that's going to really sign up for the task and, like you said, Connie, do your job. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for an environment that's conducive to learning, that's healthy, not like we had a problematic teacher last year that I was like, oh no, my son cannot be in this classroom because
Mm-hmm.
I thought what I thought was a love hate relationship, I realized, oh, it's not love hate, it's hate hate. You know,
Mm.
I don't know if you like black and brown students or you have a problem with males. Like I'm not sure
Mm.
what it is, but and you know, and the sad reality was she was like, oh my gosh, how could you think that all of my students, 98% of my students are African American? I'm like, man, that's the equivalent of saying I have black friends.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
We know
It worries me
that's a
when that.
charge statement, you know. So
Yes.
I need the schools, the school district to hold people accountable. I need to have more inclusionary, you know, practices behind biases and racism. We need that. And I think we also need, every student learns differently. So it needs to be teachers that can capture that. And I'm not saying
Yes.
you need
Right.
special accommodations, but if you have a student that's, if they get bored pretty quickly and then you know they become disruptive, give them something. Find something
Yes.
for them to do that will engage them versus you calling them a problem student or kicking them out of the
Right.
classroom. Because we experience that a lot too. Jackson, get out the room. Go
Yeah.
to y'all.
Yeah, Fortner out the room. It was because I was that student. It was difficult for me to just sit there. You know, I was that student that was, you know, I was very intelligent. I was an honor roll student, but I could have been challenged more.
Mhm.
And because I got done so quick that the teacher wasn't challenging me, had no interest in challenging me.
And that's the experience that we have because Jackson, he's done, he's fast, and he can talk and hear what the teacher is saying. And so he's disrupting the class. Like I tell him, please stop talking.
Yeah.
I can't help it that they can't keep up. I'm like, no, like you can't just sit there and be quiet. So I'm like, can you give him something? Like he needs to be engaged. I don't know. Go make him dust the board or something.
Something.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, no, he needs to sit down and he needs to learn how to be quiet. And I'm like, I mean, that's true, but I mean, what we gonna do? You know,
Not at this age, he's not going to be sitting down.
Not at 13. It's over. We're gonna take a quick break, but we're gonna come back to this conversation. I just want to let you guys know, if you are interested, if you want to, if you have been thinking of, or dreaming of having your own podcast and you want to join the Evening Rush family, that's DA, not THE, that's the Evening Rush family, make sure you hit my brother Don up. Come on over to the family. He is looking for some interesting podcasts to add to the family. Make sure you also download the Evening Rush app. Get us anywhere, take us anywhere. We are out here and we'll be right back.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
Welcome back. I also want to call on any small businesses. If you are interested in advertising with Think and Grow with Vette Green or any of the shows on the Evening Rush Network, you can send me a message. We do have sponsorships available right now. As a guest, Kizzy, I think we talked about this. We could talk about that afterwards.
Yeah.
But if you have a small business or if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to get your name out there, make sure you hit me up, message me. We can talk about sponsorship opportunities. Make sure you get in this quarter. I'm telling you, because the prices will be going up after November. So if you are interested in talking about advertising with Think and Grow with Vette Green, we will show your advertisement, whatever it is. We can talk about it. We'll, we have deals where we set up reels for you. We will push the advertising for you. You just got to hit us up. You have to invest in yourself. If you are serious about this business, you have to invest in yourself. That's something I had to come to grips with when I began this journey of my own. It was like, girl, you really do. Like, you can't get things for free. It's impossible. And I noticed that when you invest in yourself also, you get it back. You really get it back. So Simone Johnson, who Connie and I both know, She was nice enough. She would have been on the show, but she actually just started school. She's going after her master's degree. So congrats to you, Simone. I do want to say thank you for your contribution. She had sent me some questions that I just want to run by you guys and just get your contribution. So what Simone had said, one thing she said is that it is imperative for parents to be advocates for their children and know what decisions, educational decisions that their children may be pressured to make. So either one of you can tap in on that. Do you feel that sometimes our children are pressured, or has it been your experience that you've seen, even your personal experience, maybe yourself, that you were pressured into some sort of education that may not have been right for you? Because everybody's not meant to go to school. Some people can be an entrepreneur, and college is not for them.
I think that is true. That there has been decisions that have been made that were not right, because there are some students, like, and may she rest in peace, I love her dearly, my sister Cynthia knew that she was good with her hands, so cosmetology was for Cynthia. But you can't put Connie in photography and I could barely hold the camera and you're going to tell me, oh, that's what I should be doing. No, I'm more of a thinker. So the business mind and the typing, that was for me. So there was a couple times when we were in high school, Lackawanna High School. And to me, I'm sorry, Vette, but just finally being out of there and realizing a lot of things were stacked up against us back
Eyes
then.
wide open, right?
Yes, I'm
Speak
woke
on
now.
it, cuz. Speak on it. Me too.
And
I see.
I couldn't believe it. Like, even with the guidance counselor telling me, oh, you're going to work in retail. Says who? Maybe while I'm in high school, but that's not the dream. I'm like, my aunt told me, well, I'm Black and I'm a woman. So I had two strikes against me. So that meant I had to work hard. So I did a lot of things. I did a lot of jobs, but I knew retail wasn't going to be one of them. So I do think that there has been educational things, or they tell you certain classes you should take, even though that's not the track you're on. But I didn't like that they didn't hold themselves accountable for it. Like, I have a
felt
due
that.
diligence. Yeah, I have a due diligence. If I tell an international student something wrong, I'm going to come back and say, because I'm human, I apologize. Let me try to fix this and make it work. That wasn't given to us. It was, oh, well, here's the other track that you can go down. It's like, you're wasting my time, and then I didn't. Right. I didn't have an advocate for it because she didn't know, but when my aunt found out about it, it was a different story. So if you don't have an advocate for your children, or you're not an advocate for your children, there can be issues, or there can be decisions made for them that are not great. So Simone is definitely right about that.
Yeah. What about you, Kizzy?
I agree. I would say for myself, coming from a predominantly Black school with teachers that loved us and were like second moms or aunts, and then going to a predominantly white school where I don't recall having but maybe one or two Black teachers or brown teachers, that was like a tough thing. And I realized, like, I'm just not, for me, instead of me saying, okay, I know I'm smart, because I was a straight A student and I was, we called it gifted and talented, or tag, all through school. But I just, once I got in that environment, school, I didn't like school anymore. So I just really just did what I needed to do, like to just skate on by. And really, I got by on my smarts. So it wasn't because I worked hard or studied hard or anything. So thank God for, a little bit of brain, because that's how I made it through school, because I was just like I just didn't like the environment at all. And so my mom she thought that, okay, I'm taking her from an inner city and trying to give her something better. To me, it's like, well, Mom, I hate to break it to you, but white isn't always better. You know what I mean? Yes. So like that's the reality. And unfortunately, where my sister, it was good for her, it just wasn't good for me. But I pressured my son my oldest, when he went to college, because in my house, you don't really have a choice on college, except for you want to go to a big school or to a small school. You want to go to, you want to stay local, or you want to go away. Like, those were the choices. And so when my son went to college, it just was embedded. He just knew he was going to go to college. And he wanted to he got accepted to a few schools. And the one that he was set to go to, I mean, like literally set to go next week, like that type of deal, with a few of his friends from high school. At the last minute, I got a phone call and says, "Oh, we like to welcome Kobe. We look forward to seeing him on Sunday." And this was a Friday. And there's no, like, it was a free ride. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
plot twist.
Right.
We're
Right.
going here. And he was like so disgusted with me all the way from Maryland to Ohio. Because I was like, you going to Wilberforce? They said it's free, and that's where you going, and I don't care. And and he did not excel there. He just was just, I called him a ghost on campus. I was like, so what say what now? You got like a 1 point what? Huh? Like, what's going on here? Like, and in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, he's my good son. He's an honor roll student. He knows what to do. I don't have to check on him. Because basically, I just dropped him off and he was just on his own. And then I'm like, oh, Kobe, how's everything? Is everything good? I never knew that he wasn't doing well. And he wasn't asking for support. So he's one of those students that was there that was not asking for support. He just walking around just blowing in the wind. And so I learned now, like, maybe you shouldn't force a kid to go to a school just because they're paying for. It has to be a collective thing because that's what I'm learning. So I don't know, but I force myself.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much, because some other parents out there are probably listening and have experienced the same thing. So thank you so much for sharing that. Connie, what do you think? Are there kids in school that you've dealt with that that probably shouldn't be there and they were kind of forced into it, or maybe you see that a lot?
So we talk about our black and browns, but baby, Chinese students, international students, they're being forced to come here to learn accounting, to take over the family business, and accounting ain't what they want to do. 2 weeks ago, we had one in our office. We had to actually call the counseling services because she had a nervous breakdown. The parents had went back to China. They put this high pressure on her of, you've got to be top of your class in accounting. This girl don't want to do accounting. This girl wants to study art.
Wow.
But because of her parents, she has to do this family business. And we were trying to say, well, maybe you could do art as a minor so that you can compromise with your parents. Because keep in mind, she's their only child. So you already know the pressure. And I was like, gosh, I felt so bad because I am my son a lot of pressure too. I'm like, failure is not an option. We Black, we got to do this. There's no other way about it. But then when I see the international students, especially the Chinese ones, they are forced to do things because their parents tell them they have to do it. And a lot of times, if you don't do what your parents say, what happens? You're cut off. And who could afford to be in America at school that costs $40,000 a year? So you end up having to do it. But yes, there's a lot of them that are, I haven't seen as a lot of black and brown ones. They have been pretty much more thinking of how for long term, like a lot of them study business and then they'll do something else as a minor. Because, if you have the business mentality, you can get you a job. So, but it has been a lot of our international students that are like that. You have to do what the parents tell you to do. We did give our son the freedom. At first it was, you can change a major once because, you got to keep paying for that. But after that, no, you got to be serious about what it is that you want to do.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you both about what can we do to support our children who are entering into high school, who are entering into college. And Kizzy, I want you to talk about what it is that you've done because you're a mentor and you've also wrote this really great book to help young ladies just maneuver through life, maneuver through what they may be going through. So Don, if you can just put that up a moment, Kizzy. And so Kizzy is a teen girl mentor, which I am so thankful for. I wish I had something like this. You can take it down, Don. Thank you so much. You can talk about the book now, Kizzy, and how it came about. I love your story. When we did our pre-interview, you told me some of your story. So talk about how it came about, because I think this is definitely a solution. It's a nice solution for parents who may be struggling, trying to figure out what's going on with their child or with their daughter, because when I don't know about you guys, but once I turned a certain age, I kind of shut down. I was not like receptive to my mom, or, you know, willing to talk to my mom about certain things that I was going through. And that affected me in school as well. You know, that's why I thought it was so great to have you on the show today, and after we spoke about your book. So go ahead and talk to us about it and how it came about.
Yeah, so the book is 13 Lessons for Every Teen Girl's Journey to Womanhood. And how the book came about, it's really simple. I did not have a desire to write a book. It wasn't even on my radar, actually. I was just actually minding my own business. I had other plans for 2019. I just came into the year like, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And as I was driving one day, God just spoke to me, you're going to write this book. And the whole idea was all fleshed out, like the cover, everything. Like, you're going to write this book and it's going to be geared toward young girls. And the book is going to be titled 13. And you're going to give the advice you wish you had. So originally, I was like, oh my God, this is an awesome idea. I'm just going to write a letter to my 13-year-old self. I'm going to enlist 12 other women of all different age groups, all different demographics, and ask them to write a letter to their 13-year-old self. So I did that. I sent the letter to about 14, 15 women, because I said some will say yes, some will say no. Well, everybody thought it was a grand idea, but nobody sent me a letter, right?
Of course not.
I said, well, okay, God, this grand idea of yours. And they said, well, I didn't tell you to do that. I said, you're going to write this book. So then I said, oh, okay. So I just started writing different advice that I wish I had. I mean, I talk about self-love. I talk about college, because embarrassingly, I come from a family of educated women, college educated women and men. But I think because I went to a predominantly white school from 7th grade through 12th grade, I don't know, HBCU I didn't really know what that was.
Me either.
So I was like, well, why aren't we, what was wrong with my family? Nobody was talking about HBCU pride, even though they went to Black colleges, So I talk a little bit about college, like you said, because my mom passed away when I was 14. I had to navigate that part of financial aid and picking a college. And I had to do that all by myself. And I don't know why, but that's just my story, So I talk a little bit about that. I talk about the importance of saving money. And the reason why I talk about saving money is because I like to joke and say I was a trust fund baby, but really I wasn't. My mom just had her affairs in order, and she had a little piece of change that, she left. But I blew that money. It sustained me for a short period of time. But at 45, I can't say, oh, I got this because my mom left me this money because I spent it on frivolous things. So it's just different advice that I wish I had. And that's what the book is about. And I hope that it serves these young girls well, because certainly had I had this advice or even been open to some of this advice, I wouldn't have made all the mistakes that I made along the way. And the real purpose is also to get young girls to tap into their purpose early and discover what they're passionate about early, so they can live a purpose-driven life and become the best versions of themselves as early as possible, because it's about living an abundant, healthy life, not stressed and getting beat up by the world and all of that. Who wants that? So that's the whole point of the book.
Thank you. And tell our listeners the name of the book again, and where they can find it and where they can find you.
Yeah. So the name of the book again is 13 Lessons for Every Teen Girl's Journey to Womanhood. It is sold on Amazon. They can just type in Kizzy Dogan and it'll pop up, or they can go to my website. I also have a link there for them to purchase the book, and I'm at www.kizzykdogan.com.
Thank you, Kizzy. Connie, what can we do to support our children? Because we know, coming from different districts, coming from different areas, we aren't going to get it in the schools. It's just not going to happen. Our education system is so archaic. It's very behind, and depending where you live, it can be even more behind than the others. If you're in the inner city, you're definitely facing some challenges. You may not have the proper equipment that you need to be successful in school. You know, some of those calculators, I remember when my kids were in school, one of the calculators at that time was like $60. That's a lot. And this is something they were saying that they needed. So what do you feel that we can do for our children, especially for those children who are leaving high school and trying to navigate it, and they have parents, and this may be the first person going into college in their family. What can we do to support them?
Encourage them to be their number one supporter. You could be their cheerleader, but they have to be able to stand up, be vocal, no matter who likes it or not. As long as you are not disrespectful, but you are saying what needs to be said, that's all that matters. I feel like Kizzy said earlier, sometimes they want to put you in a box, but you have to be able to stand up and speak up for yourself. And that isn't something that college teaches you. For me, college taught me how to be independent, and it taught me time management. But I had to get, as Kizzy Cottrell said in her book, which I'm going to look up that book for a few of my cousins.
Right.
You have
I'm giving
to
it
have
away
that.
for Christmas.
Yeah, you have to have that confidence and that self-love. And that's a lot of things that I still have friends today that I don't feel love themselves. And I'll tell anybody in this world,
Same.
I love God, I love my family, my husband and my son, but I love me. And you have to make sure, because if you don't love you, how do you know what you can to expect from somebody else?
That's right.
So you have to ask the kids to, or these students when they come in, don't be afraid to speak up for themselves. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because remember that's old saying, and I know you heard it a lot, because I did. A closed mouth will never
I'll
what?
never get fed.
Good.
Never
It
get
is.
fed.
In my house, Connie.
It is. So that's the thing. And I tell my son all the time, go in there and you ask for what you need. Because and I always tell our international students, I said, there is 2,000 of you all, and there's 4 of us. So I won't be able to help you unless I know you need help. I'm thinking if I don't see you, that everything's fine. You know where our office is. I said, I know where you live, but I just can't come to your house. So we send messages saying, hey, if you need help, please reach out. Or if I see you and you're not one of those students that don't want to speak to me, if you say, hi, Miss Evans is going to talk to you. But you have to be your number one cheerleader. You have to speak up for yourself. So if I would say anything to our Black and brown students, be vocal.
Be vocal. Be vocal. I like that. What would you? I just want to end it with just one more gem from both of you. A mom struggling with her daughter right now, Kizzy. What would you offer to her?
I would tell the mom that in order to make the connection, you're struggling, your daughter needs to feel seen and heard. That's number one. When we don't feel like we're seen and we're heard, like you said, that you shut down. And I know how it feels to be misunderstood or feel like you're on an island all by yourself. So if you can try to connect to them, and I know we have that power struggle because I'm mom, your child, and you need to do what I understand that part. But if we can just take those layers and push them aside for just to make the connection, I think it will be a world of difference. I just want to add one thing to Connie. I like how you said be vocal, and I'm going to use that. But another thing, I think that we need to also teach our kids it's okay to ask for help. I know I was always taught you never let them see you sweat. So I always figure it out on my own, and I didn't ask for help. And that's ridiculous. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You waste so much time, so much energy, so much money when you don't ask for help. Just ask for help. And in addition to being vocal, seek help. It doesn't make you weak if you need.
Agreed.
Oh, say that again. It does not make you weak when you ask for help.
Yes.
It makes you strong in the long run because you get what you need.
Exactly.
Yes, it does.
Get it faster. It's like, why do you? But I struggle with that. I never ask for help. I always feel like, I just got to figure this out. And just like you said, the quicker you learn that you need to invest in yourself, the quicker I learned it's okay to ask for help. Business is so much better. So much better. Yeah.
Connie, first year student, and they're trying to navigate the college experience. What would you offer them that Yeah, as far as assistance.
So the first thing is that, when you have to go and borrow loans and stuff, when you go to financial aid, they just tell you to fill out forms. But now there's a bunch of videos that tell you about financial aid, tells you the risk of borrowing, make sure you borrow only what you need. No one told me that. I'm 50 fun and I'm still paying student loans. So so next year I'm coming back on your podcast as we're gonna have a podcast party when those loans
You
is
gonna be
done.
paid off?
Yes. And we're gonna have another, we'll have some more information about that. But I would definitely say the risk of borrowing, don't be afraid to ask questions. Go on to that Department of Education website so you know what to expect. Borrow only what you need so that you don't keep paying on it. It's a burden when you get out of school and you're laden with student loan debt. So I
It
would definitely
is.
say that, and realize that faculty and staff are there at the university because you're there. If you're not there, there's no reason for them to have an abundance of professional staff and faculty because they can't afford them. So
Mm.
definitely use your resources. Um, it's surprisingly now at University of Albany, they have a club for first generation students, and then academic advisors will take your student from freshman year all the way to senior year. So somebody's watching their back. They realize that that's what they need for retention. I wish all schools would do it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the biggest department on our campus is the academic advising center because they are taking the students freshman all the way to senior year, making sure that they're
Wow.
passing these classes, that they're reaching out for help, that they get tutoring. I mean, it's money well spent now, but I didn't have that.
Right, right. I
So,
had a, yep, I'll get to you in a minute. Take one of those
mhm,
brochures.
yep. When
I
I
was
got
trying,
there, I had a degree audit. This is what you need if you want to graduate, and I'm checking them off. So,
I opened up a book and was like, okay, they make a lot. Let me do that. Failure. It was accounting
yeah,
too.
Yes.
that's what I went for, and look what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm no good at accounting at all. So,
Me either. Me either. It's horrible. It's horrible.
yeah.
Thank you, ladies, so much. If anyone had questions and about navigating college and or wanted about talk about your book, tell everybody where they can find both of you because I think these are gems that you both dropped. You both came with so much knowledge. I am so appreciative of you joining me tonight. I'm taking out because I know both of you are working, entrepreneur, and you have busy lives. So I appreciate you taking out time of your day and joining me because this is important. This is important. And I hope listeners that you got something out of it. So go ahead, Kizzy, you can start. Tell everyone where they can find you again.
First, let me say thank you, Vette, for having me on. This has been great conversation.
Absolutely.
And Connie, I wish I knew you when my son was a freshman in college because I just dropped him off and was like, okay, you better do what you need to do. So you would have got me together really quickly. And
No, you would have got me with that book. So we should have knew each other.
yes, but I hang out mostly on Instagram, so I am on all social media platforms at I am Kizzy Dogan. And you can again find the book 13 Lessons for Every Teen Girl's Journey to Womanhood on Amazon or at www.kizzykdogan.com.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Kizzy.
again, Dad.
You're welcome. You're
And
welcome.
I'd also like to say thank you. I've been trying to get on the podcast for a minute, cousin. So thank you very much.
You're coming back. Listen,
I
I need that
definitely
knowledge
am.
on this show. We need that knowledge on this show.
I'll come
Get
back
us
as
all
many
together.
times as you want me here. Kizzy Cottrell, it has been a pleasure to share this platform with you. You have enlightened me as well. And I thank you so much. I wish you all the best with your children.
Thank
Um, and I hope our paths cross again. I can be found at the University of Albany's website if you look under International Student and Scholar Services. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as Tara Jackson Evans. And you could email me. You can email me at tevans3@albany.edu or taraevans12@yahoo.com. I am more than willing to share anything to help our Black and Browns be successful through college and not be laden with debt at the end of it.
Thank you so much, ladies. This has definitely been enlightening. This makes me feel good because this was the intention of this podcast. I want to bring to light the things that we struggle with as Black and Brown people and that we don't quite understand, and we're looking for information and don't even know that there's information, there's resources out there to help us. I wish I had both of you ladies when I was growing up, because it would have made things so much easier. But this is why we have a forum like this now. Someone's going to hear this, and I hope that they reach out to one of you, especially if they're struggling. I know so many kids who don't have the support. They just don't have it, and it's just not there, because as parents we haven't healed from the things we need to, and we didn't have the support, so we don't know how to support our children as we're navigating the raising of them. So I just want to say thank you, ladies, again, and I just want to tell all of you the gem that I'm going to drop, which I have been focusing on, is don't let anybody steal your joy. Be happy on purpose. You have a choice. Don't think that you don't. I don't want to release my power over to anyone ever again. I went through that phase in my life, and it's like, no, not anymore. I choose happy. I choose me. I love me. So love you first. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Don. I appreciate you. Signing off. Have a great night, everyone.
Looking to podcast